Welcome to the first new book releases of July. These are the books coming out mostly on July 2nd, but there is one coming out on the 1st and maybe one later in the week. I hope you find something to pick up off this list. There will be timestamps per genre we talk about. I'm Morgan. If this is your first time here, I just hope you enjoy it and you'll come back for more. Let's go ahead and get started. We're starting in fantasy this week with a dystopian fantasy, bits of sci-fi maybe, called Steal the Sun by Charlie N. Holmberg. This is the same author as The Paper Magician, and in this one though, our main character, Pell, is an engineer and digger by trade, unearthing and repairing the fascinating artifacts left behind by the mysterious ancients who once inhabited the sun-baked planet of Tampere. She'll do anything to help the people of her village survive and to better understand the secrets of what came before. Heartwood and Mosesses are keepers of a forbidding tower near the village of M. Garden. Inside are the remnants of complex machines the likes of which Pell has never seen. Considering her affinity for ancient tech, the keepers know Pell is their only hope of putting the pieces of these metal puzzles together and getting them running. We move on though to The Night Ends with Fire by K.X. Song. This one is a historical fantasy fiction, loosely, I think, inspired by the legend of Mulan. The three kingdoms are at war, but Maylin's father refuses to answer the imperial draft. Trapped by his opium addiction, he plans to sell Maylin for her dowry, but when Maylin discovers her husband-to-be is another violent, ill-tempered man, she realizes that nothing will change for her unless she takes matters into her own hands. So the very next day, she disguises herself as a boy and enlists in her father's place. In the army, Maylin's relentless hard work brings her recognition, friendship, and a growing closeness with Sky, a prince-turned-training partner. Continuing on, we have The Moonlit Market by Joanne Harris. Deep in the heart of London, a young photographer named Tom Argent walks the streets and captures whatever catches his eye. He's orphaned, lonely, and lost in his work. He certainly has no intention of falling in love. And yet, love finds him in the shape of beautiful Vanessa, who lives a dangerous double life in the heart of the city. Tom's pursuit of Vanessa leads him to discover an alternate world hiding in plain sight among the streets and rooftops of London. A world unseen by common folk and inhabited by strange and colorful beings, in which two warring factions, one nocturnal, one in the light, wage war for the sake of a long-lost love, which can only end with one side's total annihilation. We'll move on though into YA with our first book being Reckless by Lauren Roberts. This is book 2 in the Powerless trilogy. Only the extraordinary belong in the kingdom of Ilia? The exceptional, the empowered, the elites. The powers these elites have possessed for decades were graciously gifted to them by the plague, though not all were fortunate enough to both survive the sickness and reap the reward. Those born ordinary are just that, ordinary. And when the king decreed that all ordinaries be banished to preserve his elite society, lacking any ability suddenly became a crime, making Payden Gray a felon by fate and a thief by necessity. It says book 2 though is with higher stakes and more heart-pounding romance. Then we have Dreamwalker by Brittany Gosson. In the aftermath of a harrowing nightmare, 17-year-old Ella Windsor must face a chilling reality as the wounds from her dreams appear on her body. To add to her terror, she witnesses the intrusion of a nightmarish creature come to life lurking on her high school campus. Faced with no choice but to escape the nightmares and search for why she's the only one who can see them, Ella ventures into the mysterious astral realm. Alongside Ethan Wessex, a stunningly gorgeous lieutenant in the Queen's Astral Guard, with his own air of mystery, Ella discovers a realm on the brink of war. And the full description had like so much more. Next up is Rise by Freya Finch. For 17-year-old Bryn, being the youngest, meanest, most rebellious sister in a family of Valkyries isn't easy, especially considering home is a Renaissance fair in Chicago full of costume workers who see her as nothing more than a nuisance. When her mother disappears on a mission for Odin, Bryn begins to have strange visions about the impending Ragnarok. Bryn senses their mother is in great danger, but her annoyingly perfect older sisters refuse to take her seriously. Things only take a turn for the worse when a half-human, half-giant named Juniper crashes the party with a violent zombie in tow, confirming Bryn's worst fears. Her visions of Ragnarok are real. If that wasn't enough, the fair's mysterious new addition, Wyatt the Black Knight, just so happens to have a ferocious secret that threatens everyone around him. Determined to survive Ragnarok, Bryn, Juniper, and Wyatt team up to combat the horde of monsters that keep appearing throughout the fair. Our last YA is a thriller that I believe was previously self-published, because there's conflicting dates in some places. Like there's a Kindle version with a different cover, but then you can't get it. This is The Midnight Game by Cynthia Murphy. 6 strangers, one night. How many survivors? When a group of 6 strangers who have only ever spoken on a creepy Reddit thread decide to meet in real life, they have one plan in mind. They are going to play the Midnight Game and summon the Midnight Man. Rules of the game are simple. Do not turn on the lights. Do not go to sleep. Do not leave the building. And once you start the game, you must finish it. There's no other way out. It's very, very creepy sounding. We move into adult thrillers then with Made for You by Jenna Satterthwaite. Hi, my name is Julia. I'm a synth, and I'm here to find love. Synthetic woman Julia Walden was designed for one reason, to compete on The Proposal and claim the heart of bachelor Josh LaSala. Her casting is controversial, but Julia seems to get her fairy tale ending when Josh gets down on one knee. Fast forward 15 months, and Julia and Josh are married and raising their baby in a small town Indiana. But with haters around every corner, Julia's life is a far cry from the domestic bliss she imagined. Then, her splintering world shatters. Josh goes missing and she becomes the prime suspect in his murder. Next, we have The Haters by Robyn Harding. Cameron Lane is living her dream. After years of struggle and rejection, her first novel has finally been published. Her editor is happy, her teenage daughter is proud, and her boyfriend and friends are all excited for her. She's on top of the world until she receives a disturbing message from an unknown sender. Rattled by the accusations she finds there, Cameron swallows the sick feeling in her stomach and resolves to put the missive out of her mind. The troll's actions are escalating, and when the abuse turns deadly, it will take everything Cameron has to unmask the enemy so intent on destroying her and finally learn why she's been targeted. On to some fiction. The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. When a teenager vanishes from her Adirondack summer camp, 2 worlds collide. Early morning, August 1975. A camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. A cozy one next is More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop by Satoshi Yagisawa and translated by Eric Ozawa. I really hope I said both of those names right. This is set again in the beloved Japanese bookshop and nearby coffee shop in the Jimbuchi neighborhood of Tokyo. More Days at the Morisaki Bookshop deepens the relationship between Takato, her uncle Satoru, and the people in their lives. A new cast of heartwarming regulars have appeared in the shop, including an old man who wears the same ragged mouse-colored sweater and another who collects books solely for the official stamps with the author's personal seal. Lastly, we have a romantasy. I want to still call it cozy fantasy, but I do believe it is classified under like fantasy romance. This is The Undermining of Twyla and Frank by Megan Bannen. The entire town of Eternity was shocked when widowed, middle-aged Twyla Banneker partnered up with her neighbor and best friend Frank Ellis to join the Tanaran Marshals. 8 years later, Twyla's rewarding career patrolling the strange land of Terrenia remains a welcome change from the domestic grind of mom life, despite the misgivings of her grown children. Fortunately, or unfortunately, a recent decrease in on-the-job peril has made Twyla and Frank's job a lot safer and a lot less exciting. So, when they discover the body of one of their fellow marshals near an enormous footprint and Frank finds himself the inadvertent foster dad to a baby dragon, they are grateful to be back in action. And that's all for this week's list. If there was one that you know is coming out, but I didn't mention it, drop it in the comments so we can all find out about it. I'd love to know which ones you are looking forward to or what you're picking up this week. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, finding something great to read, and I'll see you in the next one.